Hi, I'm Adrian, and on this channel I'm going to be looking at simple and effective ways of overcoming the limiting beliefs that can sometimes hold us back in life. Today I want to talk about a lovely idea that comes from Stoicism, and that is the interconnectedness of all things. The philosophy that we are all connected in some weird and wonderful way or other, or as the Stoics used to refer to it as, Sympatheia. I think I first became aware of the interconnectedness of all things when I was about 15 years old and I was reading Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. Unbeknownst to my childhood self, the idea of everything being connected had predated Douglas Adams' books by well over 2,000 years and were in fact quite a common theme throughout every single spiritual, philosophical and religious text since time immemorial. Which brings us back to the Stoics. The Stoics are a group of thinkers from the 3rd century BC who took a very pragmatic approach to personal ethics, and in fact it was an approach that would later influence the development of cognitive behavioural therapy, or CBT as it's more commonly known. It's notable that when talking of the Stoics, a lot of people think that Stoicism is something to do with having no emotions or adopting a kind of stern countenance in the face of adversity, but really, the idea of sympatheia kind of underlies a greater sense that the Stoics had of cosmic connection and indeed spiritual awareness. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, keep reminding yourself of the way things are connected, of their relatedness. All things are implicated in one another and in sympathy with each other. This event is the consequence of some other one. Things push and pull on each other and breathe together and are one. It is this humbling of the ego that allows us to realise that there is far more to the world than our minor problems. There is always somebody out there suffering far worse than we are, and sometimes ego can blind us to this more empathic perspective. Wayne Dyer talks about there being 3 levels of consciousness. The first level he calls ego consciousness. This is the lowest level. This is where we concern ourselves with our material possessions, our bodies, what we think others think of us, and how we separate ourselves from others. Level 2 he calls group consciousness. This is very similar to level 1, but here we concern ourselves with the groups and the tribes from whom we seek approval and safety. So people might identify themselves as a particular gender, or having a particular political persuasion, or following a particular football team. In this kind of level of consciousness, we're almost looking at the group as a reflection of who we want to be. Level 3 brings us to unity consciousness. This is where we accept that we are all interconnected in some way. We are all expressions of consciousness being transmitted at random frequencies, intertwining to make up the whole metaphysical jumble. We have no control over what happens in this world, and that can be both liberating and terrifying. But by separating ourselves from others, we do not become stronger, in fact quite the opposite. By separating ourselves from others, we become ignorant. Ignorance breeds fear. Fear breeds prejudice, and prejudice always breeds hate. Ego uses hate to reinforce itself. It wants to feel superior to others, and the confirmation bias of groupthink can sometimes act as a kind of quick and dirty shortcut to a sense of ego integrity. But when ego is stripped away and we accept that we're all connected, it is in fact our differences that can unite us rather than divide. This is very similar to omnism, which is the belief that there is no one religion that is completely true, but instead all religions and faiths contain the many truths that we need to lead us towards enlightenment. Joseph Campbell, in his wonderful Power of Myth interviews, talks about how all religions are true if we interpret them as connotations rather than as denotations. So in other words, all religions contain the many truths we need if we think of them metaphorically, rather than trying to interpret them as fundamentalist, dogmatic screeds. Lao Tzu wrote in the Tao Te Ching how our enemies are often the shadows that we ourselves are casting into the world. And I kind of think that's what Sympatheia is all about. We have not been put on this planet to fear and to hate each other, but instead to accept that we're all interconnected. We're on this planet to open up to, teach and learn from one another, because it is in so doing we fundamentally heal one another. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it in some way interesting. If you did, please consider giving the video a thumbs up, or feel very welcome to subscribe to this channel where I'll be uploading future videos on psychology, philosophy and mindset. Thanks very much for watching.